Well, once again, welcome to our webinar, our tech talk with the GIS Trek, and today's topic is using the new Idaho Lidar Web Viewer and Globus Online to access Lidar data. Let me begin by just very briefly, very quickly addressing what is airborne LiDAR. We're not going to talk at all today about terrestrial LiDAR or terrestrial laser scanners, but focusing on airborne LiDAR. Well, LiDAR is a way to collect elevation data, surface data. In essence, an aircraft passes overhead with a LiDAR sensor on board. That sensor, it's an active sensor, is emitting laser pulses, and it's receiving those laser returns. And from some time differentials, that system can then produce a surface model for us. And a lot of us are familiar with the National Elevation Data Set or the previous digital elevation models. Ultimately, that is one of the things that LiDAR can produce for us. But LiDAR data is different than DEMs. LiDAR data is different than lots of different data we might be accustomed to using. The sheer size of LiDAR data can stress computer hardware and software. In fact, if you're not careful, a download of a large project area might absolutely fill up your hard drive. Everything in the world of LiDAR takes time, or let me say it takes more time than what we might be accustomed to. That is time in downloading and accessing that data, processing the data, especially if you're going to be taking the raw LAS files and processing those things yourself, and then of course working with these data. Once you're working with the final products, yes, those rasters, very similar in appearance to the NED products and the DEM products we might all be accustomed to, but because they are finer in resolution, these two can take more time than what you might be accustomed to. LiDAR data is big data. No two ways about that. It's just kind of how it is. We still want to use LiDAR data, even though it's big data. Yes, it's going to take us a little bit more time to work with it. We still want to use it because it's better data. And when I say that, it's not better just because it's new. It's better because it's more accurate. It gives us a much more accurate depiction of the surface. That is also from the fact that we have improved spatial resolution. We might all be accustomed to working with the National Elevation Data Set from USGS that has a 10-meter spatial resolution on those final raster products. Well, LiDAR data typically has a 1-meter spatial resolution on those output pixels, and a lot of the data that I'm seeing now is coming in at half-meter pixels. LiDAR data is also more current. Some of the stuff, well, current in the sense that right now data is either being collected or it's being processed based on data that was collected perhaps in the summer or fall of 2019. So it is more current. All of this comes together to argue, let's say, that it's better data, and then because it's better data, we're going to be able to have an improved decision support or a better informed decisions because we're simply using better data to help us make decisions, make models, understanding the landscape on which we live. There are two primary sources of LiDAR or supporters, sponsors of LiDAR data collections. That is the USGS 3DEP program, and there's the link and a screenshot of their main website for this program, and also FEMA. Now, FEMA is the organization that is sponsoring a very large collection of LiDAR data pretty much across all of southern Idaho right now. A lot of that data has been collected. a lot more of that data is being collected, being processed, and ultimately will be sent to both the Idaho Lidar Consortium and the GIS Center at Idaho State University. ILC and the GIS Trek, we have been working together for well over a decade. ILC provides that direct interface between you, the GIS community, and the LiDAR data you may be looking for. ILC is also the organization that is trying to put together new LiDAR acquisitions. If you have a wish list, I would like LiDAR collected here, or something like that, then you need to go to the Idaho Lidar Consortium and kind of put in that wish list. Let people know about that, because what happens is that as several people perhaps share a very similar wish list for LiDAR collection in a specific part of Idaho, well, that helps make that project happen. Costs and prices will be driven down. It'll become feasible for all of you by working together. So the ILC is a great resource for all of that. Now, ISU's GIS Trek, or the GIS Center, is kind of the back office or the back end that supports the ILC with our servers and the services that we provide, specifically our LiDAR image service, and what you're going to see here in just a little bit, the Idaho Lidar Web Viewer. Now, just kind of, I think, FYI for you, let's go through a little bit about how the data is managed on our servers. All the data that we see delivered or get delivered to us that we receive is classified or categorized as either raw, that's your LAS files, or processed data, that's your raster surface layers. Then that data is, if it's in the raw folder, let's say, we are subcategorizing it geographically. Either that data represents LiDAR collections in the eastern part of the state, the western part of the state, or the northern part of the state. And we have the same 3 folders appearing in both the raw folder and the processed folder. So once you make it through these 2 folders, that's all it is, 2 sets of folders or directories, then you start getting into our project folders. Inside the project folders, you're going to see, well, different data based on if it's the raw folder, under the raw folder, or under the processed set of folders. One of our recent collections that we put out on the web, this went out just a week or so ago, is a very large project. This is one of them sponsored by FEMA, and it's called Payette Basin. So all of our projects are named by the project name, and it's followed by the year in which that data was initially delivered. And that initial delivery may not really be to the GIS Center, but nonetheless it's given that year in there. And what you're going to see in the raw folder are, for sure, you're going to see the LAS file. Now, the LAS file, this is the big one. This is the one that makes LiDAR data big data, and it is going to be the largest thing that you're going to download from us. You're also going to see a zip file with the metadata, various other reports, and vectors. Now, the vectors, you could see shape files or geodatabases or both inside this zip file once you download and extract it. And it will contain things like the break lines, the grid lines or index of how the project was collected, and so on and so forth. Under the processed set of folders, you will you'll also see here the metadata and the reports. That way you don't have to jump from 2 different places to get that data. This is the exact same data, by the way, but because it's so small, it really doesn't bother me that we're storing it twice. This may be just a little bit more useful or handy for you, the user. Then this stuff here, the BE and the INT, these are, once you open them up, these are raster data files stored here. BE is a bare earth model. It's very similar to that NED data we were talking about before, as well as similar to a DEM. The INT is intensity data. And another folder you might see out here is an HH folder. The HH is highest hit. It's the top of canopy, top of structure raster layer. This is a screenshot of our Idaho Lidar Web Viewer. You'll be able to use this Idaho Lidar Web Viewer shortly, actually, from the Idaho Lidar Consortium website. This is going to be integrated into that or embedded into that ILC site. And we're going to take a quick tour of it here in just a little bit. You can kind of expect this. I was actually chatting with Josh about this earlier. I think Josh is online right now, but you can expect to see this in April. So this is a sneak peek at it, and we're kind of going to go around and kick these tires. Okay, this is the same thing, but now we are live. We are live on the Idaho Lidar Web Viewer. This is our map of completed LiDAR collections. And when you first hit this page, once it's up on the ILC site, this is what you're going to see. So I'm going to zoom around a little bit. And I guess I'm biased. I'm going to jump into the southeastern Idaho area. And you'll see all these different polygons representing individual LiDAR collections. This is a large collection called the Blackfoot Portna from 2017. You can click to view the metadata. This will jump again out to the Idaho Lidar Consortium. Some more data available to you right here. But if you're staying on our site or on this individual site, maybe you're interested, and notice I'm purposely picking a small one. You might be interested in downloading either the raw data or the process data. Well, let's go ahead and click on the link for downloading process data. Now what's happening is I'm jumping out to Globus. Globus Online is a large file transfer service that we're using. Idaho State University subscribes to Globus. The data isn't sitting on a Globus server. There's no such thing as a Globus server. This is a service that we have installed on our Linux server that's hosting all of these data. So here we are, very similar to how I described the look of a processed project file. And let's say that I am interested in downloading, this one happens to be still called a DEM. So let's say I want this one. What I need to do is I need to tell Globus that, yes, I want this one, but where is it going to put it? Okay, so that's real simple. I'm going to come over here on my file manager. By the way, I'm already connected and logged into Globus. Globus has a free application that you can use, anyone can use. You can create this, and it's called a Globus endpoint, Globus personal endpoint, that will be installed on your computer. And what you're going to do is you're going to have an account, log into that account, and then immediately you'll be able to start doing these data transfers. There's a folder that I have created. Now, I created this Globus folder under my F drive, and I specifically set it up that it has write access from Globus. Not everyone in the world can write to it, but Globus, the Globus service, can do that. Okay, so now I'm going to come back here. I've already selected this file that I'm interested in, and I'm simply going to click Start. Now, there's no reason for you to have to browse through anything, go through that suite of folders. You can look around all you want, but you don't have to. Once you find the data that you're interested in or that you need, you can simply click on it from our Idaho Lidar Web Viewer, and you're going to jump immediately to our Globus service. And notice that it's working. Actually, what I can do is, if I don't want to see this, if it bothers me or something like that, I can close it up and nothing's going to happen. Nothing bad is going to happen. Globus will actually continue downloading the data for you until it's finished. And once it's finished, notice it already is, But once it's finished, and maybe I wasn't monitoring it, you are going to get an email. Well, where is my email that says it just finished? There we go. Globus notification, it has succeeded. So literally, I could have closed up that after I initiated the transfer, and Globus would just go to work for me. I can see how it did. I can see that it transferred this at about 27 megabytes per second. By the way, we're on a gigabit Ethernet over here, and I can saturate our pipes at 125 megabytes per second, and I've actually done that under several occasions, and that tends to happen on very large file transfers. When they're small, it seems like it never ramps up to quite that size. So that is a quick tour of the Idaho Lidar Web Viewer, and there's not that much to it. We've made it, I think, as simple as possible. Find some data that you want, click it. This is the raw data. Select what you're actually looking for, and then tell it to start that transfer. Really that simple. The process we used to have in place was, I think it was okay, but I think that we've done a whole lot better job at making this as easy as possible for you to get this wonderful LiDAR data. I hope you agree with me, and I'm going to open the floor now for any questions that you may have. You can either unmute yourself to ask that question or simply put it into the chat box.